I guarantee you there's something from your childhood that just gives you nightmares, gives you the heebie-jeebies, sends shivers down your spine. And that's pretty normal. Not every childhood is complete innocence and bliss. Sometimes you need a little scare to toughen you up as life goes on. Heck, think of all the nightmare fuel that has been created to keep us up at night. Most kids from the 80s got spooked by some pretty unnerving beings like Gamork from the Never-Ending Story, that one jump scare from Pee-wee, Ernest Scared Stupid had that demented troll, and look at all the video games from the 90s. The N64 was notorious for having some unsettling moments too. Star Fox when confronting Andross and his head just bolts out at you, the dead hand summoning in Legend of Zelda The Ocarina of Time, the moon just staring at you in Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and yes, even cartoons can have that one creepy moment or episode that just sits in your deepest, darkest memories. The Marvelous Miss Adventures of Flapjack, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ren and Stimpy, even non-horror cartoons like The Simpsons had their moments. I mean, we all remember that horrific Homer melt-off scene. And yes, I know someone's gonna make fun of me for being scared of famous baseball star Ken Griffey Jr.'s cameo where they gave him gigantism. I don't care if it was for a laugh, this shot right here is terrifying to me. So yeah, there's nightmare fuel almost anywhere in media, whether in commercials, video games, or TV. But sometimes the scariest moments are ones barely anyone remembers, let alone even heard of. But you know them, because you saw it back in your childhood. That faintest memory in your head that you forgot existed and then comes crawling back to haunt you. It's scary, yet most people won't share that same thought because they didn't have that same experience as you. And those are probably the most unique. The forgotten media that holds some special weight to the people who have remembered it. And boy howdy do I have quite a few of those memories. And one of them I want to share with you right now. No, not that one. So my mom used to have these tape recordings of random educational videos from the 90s that she would show to her students, and once me and my siblings were born, she would also show us these tapes to get us off from watching The Lion King for the billionth time. I mean, I guess that's reasonable, but like, The Lion King was peak back then. Anyways, most of these tapings were from a small production company called Rabbit Ears Productions that aired on Showtime in the late 80s to early 90s. Rabbit Ears was known to have produced 3 television series under their moniker, adapting popular pieces of children's literature, either talking about storybook classics, tales from around the world, and stories specifically about America and its heroes. Ah yes, the classic America is the good guy kind of stories. We're definitely living that in real time, heh oh boy. Now what made Rabbit Ears pretty unique was this limited animation style. Now that's nothing to write home about. Why would you want to watch some book come to life on the small screen with just still images? Well, this was the 80s, and the animation industry was known for only making toy line tie-ins and very cheap animation, so this kind of checks out. But because these were supposed to imitate books and their illustrations, it makes sense why they wouldn't want to blow the budget over and make purely hand-drawn movements here. They were kind of like motion comics in a way. Besides, that money was already blown by having celebrity voice casting here for the narration. Like, they actually got some big names here to narrate these books. Robin Williams, Meryl Streep, Denzel Washington, Glenn Close, Danny Glover. They were able to get some big names to help set the tone for certain stories. Heck, some of these actors did more than one story too. And even though the animation was limited, they used different illustrators to draw out their own certain style to make each story being told stand out from the others. Some were nice and cozy, some were zany and fun to look at, and then there's the ones with some unsettling imagery. Now, obviously, this was a whirlwind to look back on, because I distinctively remember some of these episodes back when I was a little youngin', a little whippersnapper. And I really had that DiCaprio moment too, like, yo, I remember this! Episodes like Peter Rabbit, Sleepy Hollow, Paul Bunyan, Rip Van Winkle, and Nancy, this was like a time capsule that just exploded in my brain. But while I do look fondly on these stories, there really were 2 that stood out to me, both illustrated by a Danish artist named Henrik Dresser, and both with a very unnerving aesthetic to them. The first one, The Fool and the Flying Ship, is a pretty comedic story narrated by Robin Williams. But while Mr. Williams does have a lot of one-liners and improv skills to keep the story entertaining, the designs of these characters do feel a little flustering to look at. Look at this guy's flappy mouth! Why does this guy look like Salacious Crumb from Star Wars? Even the flying ship itself looks daunting. But that's not the focus of this video. No sir, instead we'll be looking at the other story Drescher has illustrated, this time narrated by Danny Glover, Brer Rabbit and the Wonderful Tar Baby.
It seemed that for a while there, all Brer Rabbit ever did was sass old Brer Fox.
I'm sick of your sass.
Now, the stories of Brer Rabbit go way back in the late 1800s. This rabbit is seen as a clever trickster, getting himself out of sticky situations from the likes of Brer Fox and Brer Bear. The stories have originally been traced in southern Africa, but here in the US, Brer Rabbit has gotten popularized in the early 1900s as a folk hero for African Americans, with the hare representing the enslaved Africans who used their wits against their white slave owners. This obviously inspired one of Disney's most infamous movies they have ever made, Song of the South.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. Wonderful feeling this way.
Oh, zippity-doo-dah, this was pretty racist.
That's racist.
Now, this was more so the live-action sequences. The animated sequences with Brer Rabbit were pretty tame. In fact, he's still around in Disney merchandise, although very rarely, but still with the Disney canon. Other adaptations include this 2006 direct-to-video film, The Adventures of Brer Rabbit, with the titular character voiced by Nick Cannon. I guess Nick Cannon and rabbits do have something in common. I also want to give a shout out to one of Ralph Bakshi's most cult-following and most controversial films of his catalog. Yeah, I don't think I'm legally allowed to say that. Look, despite the questionable title, or the questionable design choices of the characters, this is honestly a must-watch of Bakshi's animated films. A very flawed, but fierce little work of art. But let's get back into business. Rabbit Ears Productions has done 2 Brer Rabbit stories in their runtime, and one of them is quite disturbing. Okay, so I'll admit this opening is actually quite peaceful. Soft music, along with that beautiful starry sky, and then settling into an orange evening. Everything all looks quiet and wholesome.
And every kind you can imagine, down at the edge of a great swamp.
Gotta give Danny Glover some credit too, being a nice narrator for the story, given that booming yet remarkably warm voice.
Some of these happy children would get to thinking. And that's how Old Man Trouble got his start.
Alright, now we get to one of the more eerie parts in the story. I have no idea why, but this moon with a face has little to no impact on the story whatsoever, yet they really give this guy so many close-ups, just zooming into his devilish eyes. And he keeps appearing throughout the episode too, just randomly appearing at the most bizarre times. He's just watching us, menacingly. So, basically, the brethren of this forest are all nice to each other, until someone slips up and takes more than what they put the work for. Henceforth, in this scene, the snake takes more of the brethren's fish dinner even though they worked less. So, the rest of the group just attack like wild dogs and basically chase the snake away. Well, that's how things go down in the— Whoa, really? Already we're bringing the moon back? Jesus, this is gonna be a long episode.
Way back in the very beginning, when it all started, Brer Fox, who was sneaky old devil.
So, the real meat and potatoes here is the conflict between Brer Fox and Brer Rabbit. All Brer Fox wants to do is eat Brer Rabbit because, well, foxes kind of eat rabbits. And Brer Rabbit knows this, as to why he constantly gets sassy and starts harassing Brer Fox in order to stay alive, while getting a few laughs in. Now this is when the music starts to take a different turn. A harmonica solo starts kicking in, that haunting and spooky sound it makes by nature. These images of Fox craving for Rabbit, it's starting to get heated. So, with Brer Fox getting angrier by the minute, he decides to finally get his hands on Brer Rabbit, and creates a tar baby, the sticky pine tar contraption that's dressed like a lady, in hopes that Brer Rabbit gets stuck in it. Spoiler alert, he does. Looking back on it, this is quite tame, but even the tar baby kinda scared me as a kid. Just a blank face and no movement leaning back on the fence, the little spikes on the hat, the little twigs for arms and legs. Other incarnations of the baby looked more human-like, with buttons for eyes, a more molded appearance of a person. But this tar baby is just a black jar with tar inside it. It's way more lifeless and makes it a lot more uneasy.
You stuck up, that's what you are. And I'm gonna kill you of it.
So, Brer Rabbit goes incel mode after trying to compliment the plainly obvious jar of tar and threatens violence. This man literally put his whole body into the tar, not realizing he's gonna get stuck either way. Did you not see your hand get stuck the first time? And you thought after all your limbs got stuck you were gonna headbutt?
This guy is fucking stupid!
So, Brer Fox finally gets out of his hiding spot and starts laughing at this chud. But not until we finally get another jump scare from the moon, jeez!
So before you start making any calculations and weeping over Brer Rabbit, you just wait and see where it is he turns up.
Look, Mr. Glover, I like your narration and all, but I'm not gonna weep for this freaky looking four-eyed creature. He deserves to get eaten.
You've been running around here sassing after me for a mighty long time.
Now, Fox actually gives a reasonable and passionate rant on Rabbit, telling him how much of an ego he has and that's why he got stuck. And then we just get this wonderful scene of Fox's ears turning into flames with Rabbit thinking that he's in actual hell here. Yeah, I'm starting to see why this scarred me as a child.
I don't care what you do with me, but Fox, he said, as long as you don't fling me into that briar patch yonder.
So, Brer Rabbit tries to do some reverse psychology and tries to trick Brer Rabbit into throwing him into a briar patch. All this goes on as Brer Fox tries to think of ways to kill Brer Rabbit, with, of course, some unsettling imagery. Here's a scene with Brer Rabbit about to get hanged. Here's one with Brer Rabbit about to get drowned. But nothing comes close to when Brer Fox says that he's gonna skin him.
Ooh, you can skin me, Brer Fox. You can snatch out my eyeballs, you can tear my ears out.
What is going on here? Did the people at Rabbit Productions actually think that this wasn't gonna give kids nightmares? Like, at all? Why do they keep closing in on these scenes? So, Brer Fox finally flings Rabbit into the briar patch, and not surprisingly, Brer Rabbit survives this, because rabbits live in briar patches. And Brer Rabbit runs away while that stupid moon haunts us before we get to the credits. Oh jeez. So, looking back on it, I don't think this was anything too scary. I mean, the visuals themselves play off a little bit of a creepy yet endearing art style, and I will give Henrik Dresser credit for making the combination happen. And man, Danny Glover is really good at narration. Him setting the scene with that raspy texture of a voice, also giving Fox a sinister vocal and Rabbit a more worrisome yet sassy endeavor. And the music by Taj Mahal is nearly perfect for every scene. The banjo on more lighthearted moments, that wild harmonica on more creepier moments. I guess when all these elements combine together, it just gives off a haunting experience for younger audiences who might have grown up with this show. I mean, I've had this memory for the longest time, and honestly did something impactful. Now, I think the overall consumption of Brer Rabbit as a whole has been seen in a more negative light. I mean, Disney's portrayal of this folktale with Song of the South really destroyed any reputation it would have in the future, and would only be brought up a few times by Ralph Bakshi and of course Rabbit Ears here. Heck, one of the earlier authors of the tale, Joel Chandler Harris, a white man, used a fictional narrator of black descent called Uncle Remus, way before Song of the South, and even with the Tar Baby being one of Brer Rabbit's more famous tales, this term has been seen as a negative racial slur towards black children by some white racist. Because of course it has. Still though, with all the controversy surrounding this specific character, and the many studios trying their best to make a somewhat palatable story, it does make sense for Rabbit Ears, an educational production company, to make things lighthearted for their adaptation. But in the end, at least for me and my siblings, this has only garnered a sense of uneasiness and striking nightmare fuel when we watched. Now, Rabbit Ears put out most of their stories on their YouTube channel, so you could probably go watch their Brer Rabbit story if you're that interested. And heck, while you're at it, I would definitely recommend some of their other stories as well, like Henrik's other illustration he did for the company, The Fool and the Flying Ship. That one has narration from Robin Williams. You might actually like that one. Now, before I close this out, I do want to say thank you for all the kind words that I've been getting this past week. The algorithm has been pretty nice to me, pushing my Aquafina video out to more people, and I'm honestly astonished with the feedback and the kind gestures. Never in my life did I think that this video would get more than 100k views, yet here we are. So really, to the bottom of my heart, thank you. I appreciate the support, and hope you will like more of my videos in the future. With that being said, please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.